Sean Diddy Combs has made a huge mistake that could cost him his freedom. And it's not looking good for Diddy because the biggest enemy that he has in his life is himself. And the second biggest enemy that he has in his life is this guy right here.
He would call me, text me all the time, telling me where he was and to have a photographer waiting in the bushes on the corner to take pictures of him. So he has been doing this his whole career. We should not be surprised.
That video of him at Fort Dix reporting for work in the library.
This was the chapel, and this is the media library in the chapel, which is where Diddy's currently working. He's working in a Life Connections program, which is an 18-month program that helps rehab people, get them closer to spirituality, to charity groups, and with that, it will shorten his sentence. It does sound like he used maybe possibly some connections to get a better job.
New footage of Sean Diddy Combs behind bars has surfaced, and it's leaving people genuinely surprised. A short clip that's now spreading rapidly across social media shows the 56-year-old music mogul inside the Chapel Media Library at FCI Fort Dix, the federal prison in New Jersey where he is currently serving his sentence. The video, obtained by TMZ, doesn't show anything explosive or chaotic. Instead, it captures an unusually quiet and almost casual moment. In the footage, Diddy is seen calmly taking off his blue jacket and scarf as he stands near another inmate. The two appear to exchange a few words, though the clip contains no audio, leaving viewers to speculate about the context of the interaction. After a brief pause, Diddy casually puts his jacket back on, flashes a small smile, slips on his headphones, and walks away. There's no confrontation, no visible tension, and no dramatic incident, just a silent, fleeting glimpse of his day-to-day life inside prison walls. Yet that simplicity is exactly what has fueled the online reaction. The lack of sound, explanation, or surrounding context has turned the video into a viral talking point, with viewers dissecting every movement, expression, and detail. What should have been an ordinary moment has instead become one of the most discussed clips online, raising questions about perception, expectation, and how the public views powerful figures once they're out of the spotlight. Online, fans and critics alike are breaking down the footage frame by frame, trying to read between the lines. They're speculating about what Diddy might be saying in that silent exchange, what's going through his mind, and what this brief, wordless clip is really meant to reveal. The mystery only deepened when prison officials made it clear they had no involvement in the video's release. In a formal statement, representatives at FCI Fort Dix confirmed, "We did not produce or authorize the release of this video." That denial has only fueled more questions. Because behind those tightly secured walls, Diddy's reality looks nothing like the life he once knew. The world of private jets, sold-out arenas, and five-star luxury has been replaced by harsh fluorescent lighting, steel doors, strict routines, and a public image he can no longer manage or spin. This isn't just another famous face doing time. It's a rare glimpse into how one of hip-hop's most influential figures is navigating life inside one of America's most notorious federal prisons. But the bigger question lingers. How did it all come to this? How did the man who once called himself Bad Boy for Life end up here? For nearly 30 years, Sean Diddy Combs represented power at its peak. He dominated multiple industries: music, fashion, television, liquor, real estate, building a sprawling empire from nothing. His parties were the stuff of legend, his influence unquestioned, and his status seemingly untouchable. Diddy wasn't just participating in the American dream, he embodied it. To many, he was the blueprint, proof that ambition, hustle, and confidence could turn a kid with a vision into a global brand. And that's what makes this moment so jarring. The contrast between who he was and where he is now couldn't be more stark, turning a silent prison clip into a symbol of just how fast power, control, and reputation can slip away.
What's up, y'all? Coming here live from London. Extremely humble, grateful, and blessed. I'm still standing taller than I've ever been. Looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid. I'm still standing there.
That carefully crafted image didn't collapse all at once. It eroded slowly, headline by headline, as the stories surrounding Diddy grew darker and more troubling. What once looked like untouchable success began to show cracks as federal investigators quietly started circling, examining a growing web of accusations that refused to fade away. Behind the scenes, authorities were piecing together claims from multiple directions, building what prosecutors described as a far-reaching case. By mid-2025, the situation reached a turning point that few people ever believed they would see. Diddy was taken into custody and formally charged in a sweeping federal indictment. The charges, according to investigators, included allegations of sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation for the purpose of prostitution. The arrest sent shockwaves through the music industry and beyond. For someone who had spent decades projecting control, confidence, and dominance, the sudden reversal was staggering. The man who once dictated rooms and shaped culture was now facing the full weight of the federal justice system. Overnight, the narrative changed from mogul and mastermind to defendant at the center of one of the most explosive cases hip-hop had ever seen.
Announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
By July, the case reached a critical moment in court, and the verdict reflected just how complex and controversial the trial had become. The jury delivered a mixed decision. Diddy was cleared of the most serious sex trafficking allegations, avoiding charges that could have carried a far heavier sentence. However, the relief was partial and short-lived. He was convicted on 2 counts of transportation for the purpose of prostitution, charges serious enough to permanently alter the course of his life. The sentence followed soon after, 50 months in federal prison. For the public, it was a stunning fall from grace. For Diddy, it marked the official end of the life he had spent decades building. No more red carpets, private jets, or headline-grabbing, million-dollar birthday celebrations. The power and privilege that once insulated him were gone, replaced by a rigid system where status means little and rules dictate everything. By October, the transition became even more real. Diddy was transferred from Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center to FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey. The move symbolized more than just a change of location. It marked the moment when a global icon of wealth, influence, and excess was fully absorbed into the federal prison system, another inmate navigating schedules, surveillance, and confinement. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. A man who once controlled rooms and commanded industries was now adjusting to life behind bars, far removed from the empire he once ruled.
Yeah, you gotta go to federal prison because you got a federal charge. You don't get to choose.
He has to go to a federal prison, but within there's a couple that he could be at.
Exactly.
So his team will look at. Of course, they want him to be closer to his family. They want it to be easy for people to visit him, but they also are trying to get him out of there. So the better he can be rehabilitated from whatever he's dealing with, which are drugs and different things, he can get out of there.
Yeah, I thought those were just programs. So I guess different prisons have different programs, or do all the prisons have the same programs?
Different prisons do have different programs, but the one program that the judge cited, I guess, is like really popular throughout various federal prisons.
FCI Fort Dix is a low-security federal facility, but the label doesn't tell the full story. It's a place long associated with overcrowding, disorder, and an uneasy balance between privilege and danger. Former inmates have described broken bathrooms, questionable food past its expiration date, and nights that are anything but predictable. For someone who built a life around absolute control, Fort Dix represents a reality Diddy has never truly faced before: powerlessness. His official release date is set for June 2028, but those familiar with life inside federal prisons say the real challenge goes far beyond simply counting down the months. Survival isn't just about serving time. It's about staying safe, staying mentally intact, and knowing when to keep quiet in an environment that constantly tests boundaries. Every day brings new pressures, and every move is watched, judged, and remembered. And as the leaked footage makes painfully clear, Diddy's new reality couldn't be more different from the extravagant lifestyle he once put on display. The world that once celebrated his excess is now scrutinizing his confinement. Every appearance, every gesture, every fleeting moment is dissected in real time. The video now circulating across platforms like X, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts is brief, but its impact has been massive. Lasting barely a minute, it has sparked more conversation than any official statement released by his legal team since sentencing. Its power lies in its simplicity. The clip opens inside the Chapel Media Library at Fort Dix, a small, dimly lit room that serves both as a study area and a quiet refuge for inmates working with the prison chaplain. Shelves line the walls. The atmosphere feels subdued, almost heavy. Diddy is seen standing near a bookshelf, wearing the standard issue blue jacket over his prison uniform, a dark scarf loosely draped around his neck. He removes the scarf first, then slips off the jacket. The movements are slow, calm, and deliberate, unhurried in a way that suggests routine. There's no sign of urgency or agitation. Instead, it feels like someone settling into a rhythm he's already learned to live with, adapting to a life defined not by choice, but by confinement. Another inmate steps into the frame and stops beside him, and the two appear to exchange a few quiet words. Their body language is easy and unguarded. There's no visible tension, no hint of hostility or confrontation. Diddy nods along as if listening, makes a small hand gesture, and at one point seems to crack a faint smile, subtle, almost reflexive. Whatever the conversation is about, it appears ordinary, even routine. Then the clip jumps forward. Diddy is seen putting his jacket back on, adjusting it over his uniform, and sliding his headphones into place. Without a word, he turns and walks out of the library, moving with the same calm, measured composure. The camera follows him from behind as he heads down a long, narrow hallway. The setting is stark. White cinderblock walls stretch on either side, washed in harsh fluorescent light that hums overhead. The space feels cold and impersonal, designed for function, not comfort. Just a few steps behind him, another inmate pushes a black utility cart, its wheels echoing faintly through the corridor. To a casual viewer, it's an uneventful scene, nothing more than a man walking through a building. But for fans who spent decades watching Diddy dominate stages, command rooms, and perform in front of millions, the moment feels almost unreal. This is the same man who once embodied excess and spectacle, now reduced to a silent walk through a government hallway, his life narrowed to routine, surveillance, and confinement. What truly draws people in, though, are the small details that are impossible to ignore. His once perfectly sculpted goatee has grown into a thicker, gray-streaked beard. The sharp, meticulously lined haircut he was known for has softened, left natural, subtly revealing his age in a way the public rarely saw before. His posture stands out too, straighter than many expected, almost rigid, as if shaped by routine and discipline. Yet there's a weight in the way he moves, a heaviness that suggests the toll of his surroundings. And then there's the smile. It's brief, understated, and deeply ambiguous. Some viewers describe it as peaceful, a sign that he's adjusting. Others see it as strained, almost performative, a man clinging to dignity in a place designed to strip it away. That split reaction speaks to the power of the clip, because there's one crucial thing it never gives us: sound. We don't know what was said. We don't know what was felt. We don't even know who was behind the camera. Was it a guard quietly capturing a moment they weren't supposed to? Another inmate risking consequences? Or someone deliberately releasing a carefully framed glimpse of Diddy's new reality to shape public perception? Online, the theories haven't slowed down. Some fans argue the footage proves he's adapting, finding a sense of calm and routine behind bars. Others believe it's calculated, an intentional effort to humanize him after months of damaging headlines. A few go even further, claiming the smile feels rehearsed, like a final attempt by a man who built his career on control to maintain influence over the narrative, even after losing nearly all of it. That's what makes the video so unsettling. There's no drama, no chaos, just silence. And in that silence, viewers project their own interpretations: regret, resilience, acceptance, or simply survival. But what the camera doesn't show may be even more disturbing. To understand what that quiet smile might really mean, you have to understand where Diddy is living now. A place many former inmates describe as part prison, part madhouse. FCI Fort Dix, New Jersey, is a sprawling low-security federal correctional institution that houses more than 4,000 inmates, making it one of the largest federal prisons in the country. On paper, it's classified as low security. In reality, former inmates describe it as a pressure cooker. Overcrowded dorm-style units packed with hundreds of men, limited supervision, and aging, barely functioning infrastructure create an atmosphere that can turn volatile without warning. One of the most well-known former inmates of Fort Dix, Real Housewives of New Jersey star Joe Giudice, summed it up bluntly. "It's not a jail," he said. "It's an insane asylum." Giudice, who spent more than 3 years at the facility, described nights that felt endless and mornings thick with tension, an environment where stress never fully fades and every day feels like a test of endurance.
Now, after sleeping in there all day, you know what I mean, getting undressed, getting all my belongings in, which I didn't really take much with me. I took the crappiest jeans with me and the crappiest whatever because I knew it was just going to be stored away, and I knew when I was getting out, I would get regular clothes again. As I was getting undressed, and you know, they got to check everything, bend over, cough, beeping, bang, all this bull BS.
He recalled how violence could erupt over the smallest, most insignificant things: food portions, phone access, even something as trivial as an onion. "I've seen people get stabbed over an onion," he said, explaining that many of the men inside aren't emotionally stable, and tempers can explode without warning. According to him, it doesn't take much for a minor disagreement to spiral into something dangerous. The conditions inside the facility only make matters worse. Former inmates describe infrastructure that barely functions. Toilets break down regularly. Showers overflow and flood the floors. Repairs, they say, can take weeks or even months. One ex-prisoner claimed there was often just a single working bathroom on an entire floor, shared by dozens of men. Another described the food as expired, gray in color, and completely tasteless, joking darkly that you're never quite sure what you're actually eating. When night falls, the atmosphere reportedly shifts even further. Several former inmates have spoken about what they call the chaos hours, the stretch between midnight and 4 a.m., when staffing is thin and oversight is limited. During that window, whispered conversations echo through the dorms, fights break out, and what some describe as bizarre, unsettling behavior becomes part of the background. Joe Giudice claimed that on more than one occasion, he woke up to scenes he said were among the craziest things he'd never imagined seeing inside a prison. When asked how guards respond during those hours, he didn't hesitate. Most of them just turn the other way, he said. They hear the showers running late at night, and they pretend nothing's happening. Another former inmate who served 17 months at Fort Dix between 2019 and 2020 echoed that sentiment, describing the facility in blunt terms. "It was a zoo. Absolute chaos," he said. "I told a kid I met there, this isn't a jail. It's an insane asylum." And he agreed. Even the layout of the prison contributes to the instability. Unlike higher security facilities with individual cells, Fort Dix operates with open dorm-style housing. There's no real privacy and no escape from the noise, movement, or tension. Inmates sleep shoulder to shoulder with strangers, surrounded by constant murmurs, footsteps, and shifting bodies throughout the night. Despite these accounts, officials at Fort Dix maintain that safety and order are priorities. In a statement to the press, a prison spokesperson emphasized that any allegations of sexual or physical assault are not tolerated and are investigated thoroughly. Still, for many who've lived inside the facility, that official narrative doesn't align with their experience. One former inmate summed it up simply: rules may exist on paper, but chaos is what actually runs the floor. So while the outside world debates Diddy's leaked video, his calm demeanor, the quiet smile, the composed walk, those familiar with Fort Dix warn that appearances can be misleading. Inside those sterile walls, survival has nothing to do with fame, money, or public image. It's about staying quiet, blending in, and keeping your head down when the lights go out. Which brings us to the question many have been asking since the footage surfaced: how is Diddy managing to survive in a place like this? While the leaked video offered only a silent, surface-level glimpse into his new reality, recent reporting from outlets like CBS News and Page 6 has shed more light on what life behind bars looks like for the once untouchable mogul. And it's anything but ordinary. According to sources familiar with the facility, Sean "Diddy" Combs has secured one of the most sought-after positions in the prison: chaplain's assistant. Inside Fort Dix, that role carries a quiet level of respect. It offers limited privacy, structure, and a degree of privilege in an environment where both are scarce. Each morning, Diddy reportedly reports to the chapel library, a calmer, more controlled area of the prison tucked away from the chaos of the dorms. It's one of the few spaces where inmates can move more freely, read, work, or briefly escape the constant noise and pressure of life inside the facility.
This was the chapel, and this is the media library in the chapel, which is where Diddy's currently working. He's working in a Life Connections program, which is an 18-month program that helps rehab people, get them closer to spirituality, to charity groups, and with that, it will shorten
His daily duties reportedly include maintaining the prison's religious library, organizing materials for the chaplain, and assisting with record-keeping for various faith-based programs. Unlike jobs in the kitchen or laundry, the chapel assignment allows him to spend most of his day in a clean, air-conditioned space, something considered a rare privilege in a facility known for overcrowding and frequent air conditioning failures. A former federal prison commissioner explained to CBS News that chapel positions are typically reserved for inmates who demonstrate discipline, reliability, and emotional control. The role comes with a level of trust that few jobs inside offer. You're working around officers and religious staff, not just other inmates, the official said. It's considered a safe space, both physically and politically. Diddy's publicist, Judah Angelmere, later confirmed that the artist has fully embraced the role. In a statement, Angelmere described the chapel environment as warm, respectful, and personally rewarding for him. Sources familiar with the facility say Diddy spends hours cataloging religious texts, cleaning the space, and occasionally helping other inmates gain access to spiritual materials. He reportedly keeps mostly to himself, but remains polite, calm, and professional when approached, a stark contrast to the high-energy, larger-than-life image that once defined him in the public eye. But the chapel assignment isn't just about faith or reflection. Inside prison walls, it's also a strategic move. Working under the chaplain offers greater structure, fewer confrontations, and an opportunity to build goodwill with staff. For someone like Diddy, whose name still carries significant recognition, it's a calculated way to stay productive, maintain stability, and most importantly, protect himself. And it's not the only deliberate step he's taken since arriving at Fort Dix. According to reports, Diddy has also been accepted into the Residential Drug Abuse Program, commonly known as RDP, a highly sought-after program within the federal prison system.
Diddy should be somewhere that has a very strong substance abuse program, including the Bureau of Prisons Residential Drug Abuse Program. It's called RDAP, for which he qualifies.
How do you pick your prison anyway? Is there like a brochure? Like I'm serious.
Don't make it seem like a vacation.
No, but how do you look at? Like, how do you pick a prison?
Them all-inclusive days is over.
The Residential Drug Abuse Program, or RDP, is considered the Bureau of Prisons' most intensive and highly sought-after rehabilitation initiative. Not every inmate is eligible, and placement is often competitive. According to reports, Diddy's legal team strongly advocated for his inclusion, arguing that a long history of substance abuse played a significant role in the reckless lifestyle choices that ultimately led to his conviction. The program itself is far from easy. RDP requires months of structured counseling, group therapy sessions, and ongoing psychological evaluations. Participants are housed together in a designated unit and must adhere to strict behavioral guidelines. Any violations can result in immediate removal from the program. However, for those who complete it successfully, the reward can be substantial, a potential sentence reduction of up to 1 year. For someone facing nearly 4 years in federal custody, that possibility alone makes the program a major turning point. According to his representatives, Diddy is taking the process seriously. His publicist, Judah Angelmere, told CBS News that Combs is fully engaged in RDP and committed to the rehabilitation process. He is focused on growth, taking responsibility, and working toward positive change, Angelmere said, emphasizing that Diddy has approached the program with discipline from the very beginning. Sources close to him say his days now follow a strict routine. He reportedly splits his time between his duties in the chapel and his participation in the RDAP unit. Evenings are quieter. He's said to spend them reading scripture and journaling, habits associates claim he adopted shortly after sentencing. Through monitored legal calls, Diddy has reportedly shared that he's searching for meaning in the isolation, leaning heavily on faith and structure to maintain a sense of control in an environment where every movement, decision, and word is closely monitored. Still, despite the relative calm offered by chapel work and rehabilitation programs, life inside Fort Dix remains unpredictable. Inmates talk. Rumors spread. Power dynamics shift constantly. Some insiders quietly suggest that Diddy's position, while providing stability, also draws attention. Curiosity, resentment, and even envy can follow perceived privilege, turning it into a liability. As one former inmate explained, working for the chaplain gives you status, but it also makes people question how you got there. In prison, favoritism can be dangerous. It's a reminder that even roles associated with peace and reflection can come with hidden risks. So while Diddy may spend his days surrounded by scripture and relative order, he remains part of a system where alliances can change overnight and where every advantage comes at a cost. His movements are limited. His phone calls are recorded. His public image, despite being physically confined, is under constant scrutiny. And as recent reporting suggests, not everything behind the scenes has gone smoothly. For a brief period, it appeared that Diddy was quietly adjusting to life at Fort Dix, keeping a low profile and earning praise for his work in the chapel. But beneath that calm surface, complications were already emerging. Just days after his arrival, reports surfaced that Diddy had been written up for violating federal prison communication rules. On paper, the incident sounded minor, an issue involving a phone call. But inside a federal facility, where every second of communication is logged, recorded, and reviewed, such violations are taken seriously. According to internal documents cited by CBS News, the incident occurred on November 3rd, less than a week after his transfer, and notably, just one day before his 56th birthday.
So Sean Combs works in the Chapel Library at the federal prison in New Jersey, and he is in an intensive drug treatment program. That is according to his new publicist, who shared that information with me after I told him that CBS News had exclusively obtained documents about Combs' prison stay. Now, the documents reveal the 56-year-old participated in a three-way call, which is prohibited, but his publicist said, quote, it was a procedural call initiated by one of the attorneys and was protected under attorney-client privilege. He said, quote, there was nothing improper.
Here's what reportedly happened. That afternoon, Diddy made a call to an approved female contact, a routine practice for inmates. But partway through the conversation, he allegedly asked her to add another person to the line, someone he described as the digital person. The woman reportedly complied, connecting a third voice. What she likely didn't realize is that three-way calls are strictly prohibited in federal facilities, no matter the reason. When prison officers reviewed the recording, they flagged it immediately. Investigators claimed that Diddy had been discussing a potential statement for the New York Times, something meant to clarify his side of the story regarding his conviction and prison life before tabloids could twist the narrative. But inside the Bureau of Prisons, intent doesn't matter, rules do. Multi-person calls are banned because they can be used to coordinate outside activity, share coded messages, or manipulate media stories. For Fort Dix, a facility already struggling with contraband and smuggled phones, this was treated as a serious violation. The disciplinary committee acted swiftly, recommending that Diddy lose 90 days of phone privileges and 90 days of commissary access. For a man already stripped of freedom, losing the ability to communicate with the outside world was a sharp blow. The timing made it even more poignant. The punishment was logged on November 4th, Diddy's 56th birthday. Imagine it. The man who once celebrated birthdays with fireworks, celebrity guests, and extravagance now facing one defined by silence and restriction. His team, however, insists the incident was misinterpreted. Publicist Judah Angelmere told CBS News that the call was a legal consultation, fully protected under attorney-client privilege. According to him, another lawyer had been added to the line, making the conversation procedural rather than manipulative or criminal. It was initiated by his attorney and protected under privilege. There was nothing improper, Angelmere said. The prison, however, has stood by its stance. One source told CBS News, this is a serious offense that shows disregard for the rules. And in prison, perception can be just as significant as the offense itself. Even a seemingly minor infraction can shape how inmates and staff view you. Reports suggest that among fellow prisoners, some joked that Diddy was attempting to run PR from inside, while others saw it as a symbol of the difficulty a man used to total control faces when living under complete restriction. The situation underscores a deeper psychological battle, far more complex than the legal one. Diddy's career was built on influence, control over his image, his empire, his music. He called the shots. At Fort Dix, he cannot even fully control who he speaks to or for how long. He's gone from orchestrating global deals to being disciplined for a phone call. From commanding boardrooms and stadiums to requesting permission just to speak to the outside world. The weight of his sentence becomes real not just in time served, but in the loss of control. Just as the world thought it had seen every facet of his prison life, the leaked chapel footage, the disciplined chapel work, the RDP participation, the rule violation, another story exploded online. As 2026 began, social media erupted with rumors. Diddy was allegedly set to perform a New Year's concert from inside Fort Dix. According to viral posts across X, Instagram, and TikTok, the mogul was supposedly allowed to perform live for inmates at midnight, complete with lights, music, and a crowd ready for the countdown. The claims spread like wildfire, trending under hashtags like hashtag Diddy live from Fort Dix, hashtag lockdown countdown, and hashtag bad boy behind bars. Some fans believed it, others suspected satire, but the confusion fueled virality. The original post came from Hoops Crave, a parody account known for tongue-in-cheek celebrity news designed to mimic legitimate pop culture outlets. The caption read, "Breaking. Diddy has been granted permission to perform inside Fort Dix Federal Prison to ring in the new year." Within minutes, debates erupted. Some joked, only Diddy could turn a countdown into a lockdown concert. Others quipped, the remix doesn't count if it's done through prison bars. A few took darker comedic turns, joking about how prison life was made light for one celebrity, while others live under harsh conditions. Memes flooded the internet. Photoshop edits showed Diddy performing in a jumpsuit under disco lights. Fake event flyers advertised Fort Dix's New Year's bash hosted by Diddy. Viral videos added crowd noise and remixed tracks like I'll Be Missing You. Despite the chaos online, fact checks arrived quickly. Mainstream outlets confirmed the truth. No concert took place. Diddy had no scheduled performance, no permission to host an event, and no access to the necessary equipment. Yet the viral moment revealed something striking, his enduring influence. Even confined in a federal cell, Diddy's name can dominate timelines and headlines within minutes. The rumor felt believable because it aligned with the Diddy persona, the showman who could turn any scenario, no matter how bleak, into a spectacle. The reactions were divided. Some laughed, calling it peak Diddy behavior. Others criticized the public for making light of incarceration, noting the harsh reality for many inmates. The contrast was stark. While Diddy worked quietly in the chapel, the internet was busy turning his imprisonment into entertainment. This is the paradox of modern celebrity. When a famous person disappears from view, the public fills in the blanks. Truth, rumor, satire, it all becomes part of the spectacle. The New Year's concert never happened, but it highlighted one undeniable truth. The world cannot stop watching Diddy. Behind steel doors, fluorescent lights, and strict rules, his presence still dominates conversation. From a leaked chapel video to a viral Hoax concert, the fascination endures. Whether he is performing in a boardroom or quietly shelving books in a prison library, Diddy remains impossible to ignore. At the core of it all is something quieter, more human. Diddy is confronting a reality he's never faced before: silence. For decades, Sean Diddy Combs defined life at full volume. Every move, every decision, every moment was amplified, built around wealth, power, fame, and control. He wasn't just in the spotlight. He was the spotlight. The mogul who shaped hip-hop. The entrepreneur who made his name a global brand. The man who once said, "Can't stop, won't stop," and meant it. Inside Fort Dix, all that noise is gone. No entourage. No private jets. No flashing cameras. No studio sessions. Just time, endless time, and the low hum of fluorescent lights. For the first time, he exists in a world that does not bend to him. According to his representatives, he is fully committed to rehabilitation, spending his days working, studying, and reflecting. His role as a chaplain's assistant is treated not as punishment, but as purpose. He is also immersed in RDP, confronting the addictions and impulses his lawyers say contributed to his downfall. The contrast is stark. The man once surrounded by luxury and executives now folds chapel laundry, organizes religious texts, and journals his days. Yet in that quiet monotony, there is something revealing, a glimpse of a man attempting to rebuild from within. During sentencing, Diddy told the court, "Prison will change you or kill you. I choose to live." Those words have taken on new meaning. Whether he is truly changing or simply surviving, the certainty is that his story continues, and not on his terms alone. The public debates who he is, a fallen mogul, a misunderstood figure seeking redemption, or simply another celebrity ensnared by fame. Every leaked video, rumor, and viral post adds layers to a narrative that refuses to fade. Diddy's life has long reflected the cycle of celebrity, build-up, downfall, and resurrection in the court of public opinion. From millionaire mogul to inmate number, he still commands global attention. Image does not die behind bars, it mutates, evolves, and follows you. Even from a prison library, Diddy's story trends. Even in silence, his presence echoes. Leaked or intentional, one thing is clear: Sean Diddy Combs remains a headline waiting to happen. As the world watches his slow, uncertain transformation, from power to punishment, from excess to introspection, the question isn't if Diddy will return. It's what kind of man will emerge when he finally walks out of Fort Dix in 2028. History shows he never stays quiet for long. But perhaps the biggest mystery remains: who leaked the footage and why? Because if what we've seen so far is only the beginning, Diddy's time at Fort Dix may yet prove to be his most dramatic chapter.